So you're a carnivore or have an animal-based eating protocol. What happens when your partner isn't the same and isn't all in on the way that you're eating, or other friends and family feel the same way? What you gonna do? That's what we're gonna cover in today's video. I'm Jackie Almer. Thanks for listening. Make sure you're subscribed, leave a comment and let me know how you've dealt with this, and grab my guide at lowertoxiclife.com. Now, this does not need to be a deal breaker at all. If you go through YouTube, you will find that it is filled with videos of couples who are not eating in the same way. There are also many success stories of couples where one partner ultimately did jump on board and developed this type of eating, this lifestyle, after witnessing the changes in their partner. And most of the time, this happened by not being preached at or told what they should or shouldn't be doing. I like to say, don't should on yourself and don't should on anybody. The first thing you want to do is ask yourself, why does this matter? How is this different than any other area of your life where you may be different? And I'm going to assume that you have differences in your marriage, your partnership, with your significant other, whatever it may be. Most of us do. Maybe we come from different religions, different type of upbringing, different cultural and ethnicities. There's a lot of differences that can be incorporated into that. We like different sports teams. We listen to different music. We like different movies. There's a lot of different things. And ultimately, most of us find compromise when we're in that relationship with that person who we truly care about. There's a little bit of give and take on our part. There's a little bit of give and take on their part. How do we combine this into our way of eating? Well, we often, as a society, overemphasize the role that eating needs to play in our lives, okay? It doesn't have to be at the forefront of every social event, and yet, so often, it is, okay? It can take over everything. So I'm going to recommend that in many ways, you start with taking the emphasis of food out of the day-to-day situations that we're in. Now, obviously, when you get invited to someone's home for dinner or you go out on a dinner date or something, the food can be at the center part of it, but it also can move to the side if we simply allow it to. Make sure you watch my video here on how to socialize as a carnivore or animal-based type eating so that you can still have fun and not be like the sore thumb or the standout or something like that. So my goal always, like I say, take the emphasis of food that you're consuming, that they're consuming, take that out of the equation and focus more on the community and the gathering and the companionship that you're having. If it's just two of you at a romantic dinner, it can still be a romantic dinner. So often when we go out to eat, we don't order the exact same thing. It can be the same in our homes. We've come to condition ourselves, especially if one of us is the primary person who's cooking, that one meal is cooked and consumed. But let me ask you a question. Why does it have to be that way? Why not get into the habit of cooking together? You cook what you're going to eat, let your partner cook what they're going to eat, but you can do it together simultaneously. You can have fun with it. You can be light with it. You can even joke a little bit about what each one of you is eating. Just make sure that that humor and that joking doesn't turn into snide comments and a passive-aggressive type thing. Now, the next thing that you can do is you can begin to talk about it openly. Now, if you're the person that's switching or has switched, if you're switching to this type lifestyle, what you want to do ahead of time to kind of avoid a lot of this conflict is sit down and talk about it openly. Ask for that person's thoughts and opinions, and start that by saying, I'm exploring a new way of eating to handle XYZ. Maybe it's weight. Maybe it's chronic issues. Maybe it's inflammation. Maybe it's digestive issues. Maybe it's so many of the things that I've shared or that you've seen other people share on other videos about different symptoms that they were able to address and overcome. So many chronic issues, autoimmune issues, brain fog, anxiety, just the list goes on and on with Parkinson's disease. even different cancer stuff where they put themselves into remission and it never returned. There's so many stories out there of people who have used this method to overcome those things. Now, I don't ever like to say that it works for everybody. I don't believe it works that way. But what if it worked for you like it's worked for me? That's what I always say. What if you tried it and it didn't work? What have you lost? What if you tried it and it did work? So you want to sit down and talk about it openly and ask for that person's thoughts and opinions. Now, this is where you have to be really careful. If you're going to ask them to share their thoughts and opinions, you have to be willing to listen and listen with an open mind and not immediately push back and try to fight them. This is not about having a fight. It's not about persuading them to your line of thinking or any of that. Food is an ideology. Most of us know that. You've heard me share over and over again my love of Sally K. Norton in this book, Toxic Superfoods, and even Stephen Gundry with the plant paradox and the work that he did on lectins in vegetables, and hers was oxalates. And if you really research all of the anti-nutrients and toxins that are in vegetables, fruits, and plant-based foods, you will see that these are natural occurring things in nature so that the plant survives. Every living thing has the desire to survive and procreate, and plants are no different. They don't want to be eaten. And so they have these inherently built in them, ideally to ward off animals, and we are an animal, from consuming them. So food is an ideology, and it's based on most often headlines that people have read. I mean, just her second, the second word, superfoods. How many times have you heard that broccoli and spinach and walnuts and chia seeds and avocados and blueberries, I might have already said blueberries, some of these foods are superfoods, and maybe they can be, and maybe for some of us, they are sheer poison. And so we don't really know. So food is an ideology, and it's most often based on headlines and they said type data. Well, they said, well, who said? Well, a study was done. Who did the study? Who funded it? Well, were the scientists paid by the company that funded it? Did they have a special interest? Like, for instance, was it Big Food that funded the study to say that, I mean, there's nothing wrong with consuming Coca-Cola, and teenagers should have that as part of their healthy diet and all the rest of it. It's an ideology that's based mostly on headlines and opinions by a lot of different people. But when you really go down the rabbit hole of researching the science, you can almost always debunk it. Take coffee, for instance. I know that if you've lived on this planet for any amount of time, you've heard both sides of the argument on coffee. It's good for you, it's bad for you. It causes this, it cures this. The list goes on and on. Who's right and who's wrong? So I always just like to ask people, where did you get your thoughts, your belief, and your data? I don't fight with them. I just ask them that. And then I'll ask them, how far did you ever really research that? Did you just read the article, or did you go further to research it? And one of my favorite things to come at that with is spinach. Most of us have heard that spinach is super high in iron, right? I mean, think Popeye even. It's high in iron. But when you dig down, what we do find out if you really dig down in there, it has a completely different type of iron than the iron that's found in animal protein. The iron that's found in animal protein is much more readily bioavailable, and by that I mean our body assimilates it into our cells and allows it to fuel us in a totally different way than plant-based iron. And plant-based iron, while really high in the leaves, when we ingest it, we don't assimilate that level of nutrient within our body. The amount of spinach we would have to eat to really get the amount of iron that we truly need is off the chart. It's almost impossible. And if you study oxalates, you find out that spinach is probably the highest vegetable out there in oxalates. And I will tell you, probably without any doubt, that I will never again consume spinach. I just won't. Knowing what I know today about it, it just isn't something that would be on my agenda at all. So it's kind of one of those things. I'll just simply bring up something like that. Where did we come to believe that spinach was high in iron? I certainly believed it, and it is high in iron. It's just not the kind of iron that the human body can assimilate and make good use of that nutrient. There are other animals out there who can consume spinach and they can digest and assimilate that iron into their bodies. And then as that animal matures and as we eat them, then we get the benefit of that iron, but it's not from us directly eating the spinach. So different interesting things like that. Now, I like to be a researcher and have researched a lot of this so that I have it in my toolbox. But my goal is not to always come at somebody with all this big amount of knowledge that I know. I just have it for myself, and then I can begin to present little ideas and thoughts and things for people to think about or research themselves. But I'm not ever going to tell them I'm right. I'll just say something like, well, here's the data that I came up with when I really went and researched that further, like how much iron truly is available to the human body in spinach. And here's what I found out. This is what the headline and the article and the scientific study doesn't tell you. Right? So here's some other ideas on working on this together. Sit down and come up with ideas together on cooking, shopping, and eating together. You don't have to shop for the same things, you don't have to cook the same things, and you don't have to eat the same things to do all of these things together. You can still go to the grocery store and have a lot of fun. You can still plan meals. What am I going to eat? What are you going to eat? How can we cross over with those and cook those together? And then how can we sit down together and enjoy this meal without picking on the other person, without trying to make them wrong, trying to make us right, or any of that? We can always dine together without eating the same foods. And then also you want to sit down and share your reason why for starting this new way of eating, or at least testing it. And when I say share, I mean share why. What's going on with you? As I mentioned, for me, it was simply health issues, right? It was trying to figure out what was going on with my joints and inflammation and my digestive issues and my brain fog and all of that. And believe me when I say my husband was very well aware of these because, I went from being the super active type A personality to slowly just kind of shutting down and not wanting to do anything and hardly even leave the house because of the way that I was feeling. So when you share the reason why, it makes it so much easier to say, I'm trying something different today. I'm reading this book today to learn more about what's going on. I'm reading this book today to learn more about what's going on. And you know what? I let it all roll off my back. He's not interested in reading these books. He will listen to me talk, and he's practically been a carnivore his whole life anyway. And I kind of laugh at myself for all the times I kind of, shook my head and did my tongue thinking, oh, you're just killing your body. You're eating too acidic. You're not getting enough of this. Oh, was I ever the one that was wrong? So that's why I'm always careful not to preach at people because it could turn around to bite you if you're not careful. So I just simply say, share what's going on with you. Don't preach to them. Don't say, and you should be doing this too. This is what I've learned, and this is the way it is now, and you should be doing this too. Avoid any of that language. So state what your healing and health goals are. State what those clearly are. State what you've worked on. Have you developed an eating protocol? Do you have a plan of what you're going to do? What you're going to do for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it might be. Have you defined that? And I recommend that you do that first. And then you just simply share that with them and share those health and healing goals. And then ask them, what are yours? What kind of longevity goals do you have? Do you have any chronic issues, any chronic pain? Do you have anything that you're working on to heal? How can I support you in your journey to do that too? And then again, share your eating plan. This is what I plan. This is what I plan to eat. And these are the times that I plan to eat them during the day. I look at it like anything else. We have conditioned ourselves again to think that food is such a social event. We need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we need to eat it at these times, and we have to eat it all together as a family. You can sit down with your family and never consume a thing, but sit and have a very viable conversation. You don't have to actually be going through the motions of stuffing food in your face in order to spend that time with them and have community. So that's an important part of it, that you share with them what you're planning to do, but then you say, but that doesn't mean that I won't be there for you to, have that meal together or whatever. So share your eating plan and then discuss ways that you can accommodate those together. And then plan activities that involve eating together as well as activities that don't involve eating together. So maybe it's going to the movies, maybe it's going to a sporting event, maybe it's going to concerts, maybe it's going hiking, whatever those activities that you can do that don't involve eating. And if they are something where you need to bring a snack, pack your carnivore type snacks, right? Hard-boiled eggs, bacon, beef sticks. There's a lot of different things that you can do to pack yours, and you can always offer, would you like me to pack some for you? This is what I'm packing. And if they want to bring their trail mix and granola bars and a lot of those other things, let them. Seriously, let them. Okay, so you plan those activities, and then you plan those activities that do involve eating together. So if that involves going to a restaurant or a situation where there's going to be food involved, pre-plan ahead how you're going to handle hunger and satiating yourself and feeding yourself for you in any situation. If you're going to dinner at a friend's house, I've discussed, making sure you bring a side dish that is animal-based. Or you let them know ahead of time, listen, I'm doing an elimination diet, and I would still love to attend your gathering. And also I want to give you the option to uninvite me if you feel like that's going to be a challenge for you. Here's how I'm eating, and here's what I'm willing to bring for myself so it doesn't have to be a challenge for you. So you take on you and dealing with that in the way that you need to. So when you pre-plan ahead, if you're eating out together, you can jointly pick a restaurant that's going to fit for you both, and that you know that you can order what you want. Look ahead at the menu and know how you're going to pre-order, know what you're able to order, what sides you're able to leave out, what substitutions you're able to make, and all the rest of it. Can they, promise you that they won't cook in seed oils? Can they cook in 100% butter for you? Different things like that. Do they cook in beef tallow? Like, what do they actually do? Know those things ahead of time. And the important thing for you and everyone else is, if you know this ahead of time, then you don't create a scene or create an uncomfortable situation for anybody while you're at the restaurant or the friend's house or whatever it is. So know all of that ahead of time. And the most important thing in all of this is companionship. It's being like-minded in as many ways possible that we can in different areas, but not necessarily having to be like-minded in all of them. The really funny thing is that if you are vegetarian, most often that doesn't get hit with the same level of questioning and skepticism as carnivore does. And again, that's all socialized conditioning of what we've been told over and over and over again. And I raise both my hands in guilt for that. I bought into so much ideology from headlines and, books that I read and shows that I watched and all of that to truly believe that we needed a big amount of fiber in order to, eliminate successfully from our bodies, and that we needed a certain amount of vegetables and fruits and all of that. And now I've completely changed that. I believe across the board, most of us do not. I don't believe that we would be here today had that been true, because our ancestral natives and relatives didn't eat that way, because that type of food was not readily available to them. It was much easier to capture and kill an animal and eat it than to, find berries in the tree, because those were certainly seasonal and location, specific, and a lot of different things like that. So that's such a big part of it. We just have to focus really on the relationship and allowing us to all be different in the areas that we're different in, and that's often one of them. And then stay super light about it. Have humor, lead by example, don't preach at people, don't try to force them. I see the question asked all the time, how do I get my partner to eat this way? How do I get my family members to listen to me? I've been a sales trainer for years, and I always say you don't want to get people to do anything. Lead by example, inspire them through your words, your actions, and what they witness happening for you, and then it becomes their idea and not your idea. And when it's their idea, they're much more likely to jump into it and try it. You don't want to be passive aggressive in any way, even in sharing your healing journey. And that can be hard for us, because we can start wanting to say everybody that has joint inflammation needs to go on a low oxalate diet, or everyone who has joint inflammation or brain fog or any of this needs to be a carnivore. That can almost be passive aggressive and preachy when we're sharing our journey, even when we're sharing different things that healed. I always like to say, I don't know if it would work for you, but what if it worked for you like it's working for me? Would it be worth a try? I can't guarantee. I have no idea what's going to happen for you. So that's kind of how I like to address it. Avoid using everybody's doing it, or everybody should be doing it, and nobody should do this. So everybody should be on carnivore. Nobody should be eating vegetables. That's a quick way to get the hands up, the resistance from other people. So just share honestly from the heart more than anything. Express how you're feeling overall about yourself, your weight, your health challenges, your skin, a new level of confidence, new clothes that you're buying, whatever it is, who you are and who you're becoming through this journey. And I'm going to do a video on how carnivore, all the hidden benefits in it besides just health and eating and weight and a lot of that, because there are many, many more. So what ideas do you have? Drop me a comment, like and subscribe to the channel. Grab my guide at lowertoxiclife.com. I'm Jackie Elmer. Thanks for sharing this journey with me, and be sure you watch this next video that's coming up just for you.